I saw in the news last night that there is now speculation that the world may come to war in the wake of this global coronavirus pandemic, which is straining or possibly will collapse economies around the globe and in the US as well. And there will be a competition for resources. Obviously, this is only speculative, as so many things are in the news these days, but it's fueling more questions and wondering again about the end times. Of course, throughout the millennia, warfare is a common practice, not only in a bid for power, but also in competition for resources. In the ancient world, war was common over things like water rights or farm fields. So people are wondering about the end times again. But this combination of war and economic strain and even pestilence are so common throughout history that there's nothing new or apocalyptically alarming about any combination of war, economic strain, famine, and pestilence. Nevertheless, we read the biblical prophecies and we watch for the signs. In Matthew 24 is where Jesus talked about wars and rumors of wars, natural disasters, famine and pestilence, and these are going on today, but they've gone on at many times throughout history, so today is really not unusual in that sense. But we don't want to miss what Jesus said. He said, all these are the beginning of birth pains. Now, A.T. Robertson, a universally respected Greek language scholar and biblical scholar, said that these woes, according to Jesus, are not a proof of the end, but of the beginning. Notice what Jesus said. All these are the beginning of birth pangs. Robertson continues, these disturbances are not to be regarded as characteristic of any particular age, and they are not to be considered as signs of the approaching end times. In general, these signs have at least been practically fulfilled or partially fulfilled in the present age, but they have also characterized the entire period of history between Jesus' first coming and Jesus' second coming. So these are to be understood as general signs rather than specific signs that the end is near. It's the other signs that we are watching for. Jesus in Matthew 24 followed where he said, all these are just the beginning of birth pains. He followed it with other signs that are more indicative of the end. The first would be the global hatred and persecution of Christians. Now, I know that Christians are being persecuted in many countries around the world, but it's not global yet. He talks about a great apostasy of the church. And while I know that we are seeing quite a bit of apostasy in various places of the world, and particularly in various places in America, I believe that Jesus is talking about something far deeper and far-reaching than what we're seeing. The proliferation of false prophets and teachers, which again we see on the internet. The work I do on the internet is just, I come across hundreds of thousands of false teachers and false prophets misrepresenting, distorting the scriptures. But then Jesus talked about a global anger, a growing anger and a global violence. He talked about something called the abomination of desolation. He talked about, Revelation talks about the rise of the Antichrist, etc. There are many signs that are indicative of the end, that wars and rumors of wars, famine, pestilence, and natural disasters doesn't approach. So what I'm saying is that we cannot conclude yet from anything we are seeing that the end times are upon us until we start to see the other pieces. Wars, economic collapse, famine, and pestilence are too common throughout history to be the mark that it's here. The real question, and what was Jesus' point all along, is, are you being faithful? As a believer in Christ, are you standing strong? Are you persevering? Are you sharing the good news with your neighbors? That was Jesus' point, and that's the more important focus of what you should be thinking about and what you should be concentrating on, is your relationship with Jesus and how committed and strong and evangelistic you're being. But as always with these videos, talk to me about this. Interact with me under the video and I'll respond to you. I know many people are paying attention to the signs that we're seeing in current events.